Hello and welcome to another America's Leading Ladies author reveal. I'm so happy to have Natalie Rekstad with me today. She is one of the first authors who appears in the book, actually, and behind some of the celebrity authors. And I want to just share with you a little bit about what her view and mission is. She sees her ultimate vision as a world where men and women lead together with full opportunity and equality. So I just wanted to mention that. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. And congratulations to you as well for your inclusion in the book.
Oh, thank you. All of us have a special story of how we got involved. So just share with us how you ended up in this project.
Sure. Well, it was actually really out of the blue. Pat Simpson, the publisher, reached out and she said it was meant to be. And as you can imagine, I was delighted. Although I was a little suspicious because the deadline is about, 2 weeks away. And I was like, okay, someone dropped out.
Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, thrilled to be in the company of women like you and Oprah and
Absolutely.
Melinda.
Right. And Malika.
I have to say, right. Although Pat did, she called back and after my submission, she's like, I love what you wrote, and just so you know, you're like number 5, and Melinda Gates is number 6. And I was like, oh my god, are you? Yeah, that was a red letter day, a bit of a shock and exciting.
But it absolutely makes sense that you would be right there because that's what you do, right? Your mission with your own business is philanthropy. So,
yeah, it is. Well, and I do identify as a philanthropist. I am a funder. However, my strategy performs my wallet. And so I found that I could have far, far, far greater impact as a strategist.
Mm-hmm.
And so by working with organizations all over the world, global nonprofits, many of which are in the women and girls space, I can't add zeros onto my checks like we would all love to, but that is my way of adding zeros. And, being able to cultivate really an A team, including young talent who have the same level of vision and ferocity that, that seek that mentoring and a way forward to have impact. And that's one of the things that I talk about a little bit in my submission is around, start where you are. For a lot of the young women on my team, they have this, brilliance and time and ferocity. And so, they're bringing that to the table, and we need that at the table. That's who I was, 25, 30 years ago. Now that I have far more financial resources currently, than with just time, but my time on the front lines in all of the things that I worked on with Special Olympics or being a big sister or any number of things really informs my philanthropy now, because I was more in the trenches back when I had that kind of time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So I guess I kind of a little bit pulled out what I thought was your overall message to the world, but it seems like it's a lot bigger than just the statement that I pulled out of your submission.
Yes and no. I think I think you captured the essence. How we get there is, we all come to it from different angles. We're all equals on the journey. And that's one of the things being a fundraising strategist or funder as well, is so many organizations will go to a funder thinking, oh, down here, but in fact, organizations need to take their full space in the world for their value, their mission, what they're bringing to the table, and take their full space, because we are equals. I can't do it without you. You can't do it without me. Is it ours to do together? Let's just sort that out. But to bring the power dynamics in, the crazy thing is, it's often the nonprofit leaders who are coming into the conversation with that dynamic in their mind. And as funders, we don't really want to participate in that conversation. We want to find out, does it make sense for us to partner together? Is this ours to do together? And what can that look like? And I think then the journey together is far richer and more true.
So for like the regular person who wants to contribute, tell us just one major way that we could help to change the world.
Well, I I wouldn't say there's one way. I say, the main thing is what's uniquely yours to do.
Mm.
And what's uniquely yours to do, that could be any number of things. Like, in my case, very often in the women and girls space, actually, our deepest passions often spring from our deepest wounds. And so what's mine to do is, being an advocate and ambassador and funder and strategist around equality, and that really stems from feeling marginalized in my family and my culture for being a girl. So that is uniquely mine to do. It is something so, deeply part of my DNA, is to have this not on my watch warriorship now as a result of that. However, others, they have something else that's uniquely theirs to do. It could be any number of things that could be clean water, because clean water informs so much else in terms of a thriving community. And I mean, gosh, our clients work on so many issue areas. It's female genital cutting, it's child marriage, it's leadership, education, all of these things. There's even rural farming. And so, what's yours to do? It depends upon what you connect with as an issue area, because what we need is really people who are really identify with something that that they care passionately about, that they can care deeply about, that they can, callings call for us to grow into them, that they can feel called to do and grow. And so I can't say there's any one thing people can do. I will say, depending upon where you are in your journey, if you have time, give time, as I did. And then, as well, if you have a particular expertise, give that expertise. If you have, emotional support, if you are so heart-led, if you are a nurturer, there's a role for you to play, even as an introvert nurturer. Like, we need you. And including in fundraising, like, there's a lot of funding, there's a lot of money in loving your donors. And the nurturers have an incredible role to play, even though they're the first ones to hide under the table when the conversation about fundraising begins. And so, but as well, it's where are you in your evolution? Where are you in terms of, and you said, I think that the normal person, the regular person, I don't know that I ever identified as a regular or as a normal person, or I have resources, I don't have resources. It unfolded, and I gave them more tools in my toolbox that I could apply. I thought of it more in that way. So yeah, I think implicit is, oh, well, a funder has superhuman powers. It's like, well, not really. Again, going back to, we all are equals on this journey. What's your role to play? And funders have a very specific role to play. But I have to say, the most effective funders of all are bringing their whole selves to it, their heart, their mind, their wallet, their hands. So many of people in my peer group, they're on the front lines, they're living in Liberia, they're in the trenches. I get vicarious trauma, so I feel like I'm better to not be in the trenches. I'm the helper to the real helpers,
Right.
is sort of where my role is, right? Like, I think if I was to put anyone on a pedestal, it would be the people who are really in the trenches, because they have for just anyone, start where you are. Your journey will unfold from there, and you'll stretch and learn and grow on the journey. But there's nothing richer, a little bit scary, but rich. And and you know what? Actually, I do have an answer about one thing. Everyone has the ability to mentor in some way, shape, or form, informally, formally. And it's interesting because I was in Seattle last September. Our group had like a fireside chat with Melinda Gates. And she was asked that question: if you had no money, if you woke up tomorrow and you didn't have any of the financial resources you have today, what would you do to make a difference in the world? And she said, I would mentor a young woman. And I thought that was really profound. Yes. So yeah, whether it's an 8-year-old or, you know, someone in your company who is 30 or a rising star, or maybe struggling and needs to be shepherded in some way. And I think men are incredibly talented at building infrastructure that support each other, and women are being so much more intentional about it and more aware and awake about, you know, how that's necessary. And so I think the tide is shifting just organically, but I think to also be intentional about it will make all the difference.
I really like your answer. Mostly what I'm hearing is look around your community, look around your, you know, your culture or wherever it is that you find yourself, and see where you can support in your current capacity. And as your, you know, capabilities grow, your opportunities grow.
Absolutely. And and actually, I like how you paraphrased it, because if that means that it starts just at your own kitchen table and raising your small young children, and maybe volunteering at the school as I was the pizza mom and I was the library mom and the room parent, there's like there's incredible value there. And also, I kind of want to take back the word philanthropy from people's image of the word, because the true definition of philanthropy is love of humankind. It's from the Greek philanthropos. And I think people think, oh, philanthropy, that's for them, the quote unquote, the thems, whoever they are. But for a lot of people, it conjures up, you know, the
Yeah.
looks white, or looks male, or looks whatever, like whatever our stereotype is. But in fact, I think it's time to take back because philanthropy can be like stopping and tying a child's shoe, right? It's kindness. It's love of humankind. And I think if we can start with love of humankind, then we're all philanthropists if we can show up in that way.
And, you know, also to your point about women reaching out to mentor again, I think it may have been just a symptom of something we lost, going from our rural tribal condition to the more industrial, right? Because it was very normal and natural for women to be in that way with each other. But we kind of were like in limbo, like, wait, what are we supposed to do now? Because, like, you know, everything looks different and feels different. So
interesting. And I never thought about that. I hadn't connected those dots, but I think you're absolutely right. I think I'm wired. Well, we're clearly wired for connection, but when we're thrown into a masculine construct like the modern day workplace, yeah, there's like this, like, how do we navigate this? And if I'm competing and being very masculine, like I came up in the 80s in Washington, D.C., this is the era of, you know, Charlie Wilson's war and the demonization of Anita Hill by men and women.
yeah.
And so, and it was this whole, it's not enough that I succeed, you must fail ethos.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still that way. Actually, what am I saying? Yeah.
It's Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. I know, I just caught myself.
That's a whole different topic.
Yeah. Yes. You have a hard job probably, like reining us all in to not go there.
You know, I live outside of Washington, D.C., so I try to keep myself in a little peaceful cloud. But, you know, this is a nice segue into your quote.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, you know, it's funny because I have a quote that I've lived by for years and years, which is the impossible just takes a little longer. But the quote that I think really tied to what I was hoping to convey in the article, the essay, was if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it's an African proverb. And the reason I chose that was we need to be more intentional about inviting men into the conversation about equality. I think that we in this movement, in the second wave of feminism, well, first, certainly the second, we have, really had this, we've been working in silos enormously, and yet men hold up the other half of the sky, right? It's like, the famous upon, I think the Chinese proverb around, women hold up half the sky. It's like, well, men hold up the other half. Why are we leaving out the other half of the sky in this conversation? And things are shifting. There are some incredible visionary men who are fierce warriors for equality. And I also find that fathers of daughters are fierce advocates for equality. They're not always for the wives yet, but certainly for the daughters. And the data, proves out, the chair of the board, if he has daughters, there's more women on the board. If the CEO, there's more women in leadership, all these things. And then the companies perform better, and this great, incredible domino effect. So the reality is it benefits men and boys to have this equality. It affects it on so many levels. Countries are more peaceful and economies thrive. Like, there's all these like intellectual data points, just basically the right thing. There's also like clear data of why it makes sense and why it's good for everyone.
Yeah, I
So to
love
go far, we need to go together. We need to link arms with men as equals. Again, as equals, we all have our role to play, and they're absolutely invited to the movement.
and to put it all together and taking back the word philanthropy, we are doing it out of the love of humanity, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And my core belief is the future hinges upon a more just and gender balanced world. So yes, again, everyone's invited to the party.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Natalie.
Pleasure. What a delight. So happy to meet you. And again, congratulations again. And yes, and to all of you kindreds out there, welcome. Welcome to the movement, to the moment. And with that, blessings.
Thank you so much. And you can get your copy of America's Leading Ladies on Amazon by going to bit.ly, America's Leading Ladies, and support this movement and join the party. Thank you.
Woo.